Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Lee, and I'm here with Shira, Kim, and Juji. We are 4 friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. The mind-body connection is an undeniable one, and it's a topic that we're diving into today. To begin this conversation today, Kim has a short yet very interesting exercise for us to try to prove the mind-body connection. And then we'll dive in. All right?
Perfect. So it's not necessary for something to actually be happening for your mind, for your body to believe that it's happening. So it's all about the power of the mind. And this short little practice exercise really drives this point home. So you ready?
Ready.
Okay. And anyone who's watching, please do this with us. So ladies, close your eyes. I want you to picture a lemon slice. Like really imagine it. Look at the color of it. Smell it. Now take it in your hand. Pick it up, take it in your hand, and just imagine the texture of the peel. And now that it's in your hand, I want you to visualize yourself taking a bite into that lemon. Suck on it, ladies. I'm cracking myself up. No, seriously, taste. Taste how sour it is in your mouth. Like really focus on its flavor. Okay, now open your eyes. Facial expressions.
I feel like I was like wincing, like when you suck on a lemon. I feel like my face was looking like this.
Yeah, it was. Now, which of you ladies noticed that your mouth actually produced more saliva just from practicing this little visual?
Definitely.
Isn't
Especially when you said something about like focus on the taste or something, like I was like, oh my God, yes.
It's bananas. And this exercise, I've done this in workshops and I always get the same reactions from people. And it really just shows you how much control your mind has over the body. And if you think about it, like there are so many possibilities. If our mind is in control of our body and we focus on thinking positive thoughts, creating visual stories of how we want to see our life unfold, things we want to achieve, things we want to manifest and experience, everything is possible. We can create it with our thoughts. And this activity, this exercise, I keep calling it an activity, this exercise just like proves that. Like, what are the possibilities? You guys just like puckered your lips from imagining a fake lemon in your mouth. Like it blows my mind how much power our mind has.
Yeah. So Kim, so that was a fun exercise, right? And somewhat funny and whatever. And it definitely proves that there's a connection between the mind and the body. And I want to also add that they're very interconnected in positive and negative ways, right? Things that we think about absolutely affect our body, right? If we were to do this exercise, for example, and have us all think about someone we love so much getting hurt or dying, I mean, it would affect our bodies very strongly in different ways. It gets down to a cellular level. And these are the things where negatively it can cause disease, right? Our stresses, our negative thoughts, our frustrations, anxieties, all of this stuff can cause disease, whereas the opposite can be true too. We can heal from thinking and saying and believing positive thoughts. It's such a fascinating topic, and there are so many amazing leaders and speakers and motivating people today, educators that that can help us with tools to actually reverse disease, to make our lives more enriching and more satisfying in so many ways. And this is all, I think, part of our spiritual practice as well.
And I just want to mention that, like, it's not magic. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not the easiest thing to do. Like, you have to work at it, you know? You can't just like visualize a new Mercedes and like it appears in your driveway the next day. It doesn't work like that. You know, you have to just really
But wouldn't it be cool if it did?
Unless
We'd all
someone's
be
picking
driving
you up.
them. Well, one of the words that just popped into my mind for some reason as we're talking right now is, so there's mind-body connection. Like, of course, they're connected. But the word that just came into my mind is mind and body alignment, right? We want what we're thinking about to align with what our body is feeling. Because if there's a disconnect, if we're saying, I really want this thing, I want to have a better relationship, I want to have better health, but our minds keep telling us that we don't deserve it, we're not good at something, just sort of bashing ourselves or complaining or whatever, like that is not in alignment. And I think that's really, really important, because if we want better health and we're saying things that, you know, we always talk about, like, your thoughts lead to your words, which lead to your behavior, right? So if there's a disconnect or a misalignment in any one of those steps, you're throwing yourself off. So it's about consistency, it's about discipline. And at the bottom rung of all of it is it's about belief. Like, what do you actually believe? And we can be taught lots of crappy things when we're growing up about, you know, how we treat ourselves, how we talk, what we do, what we want, like at every turn. Sometimes, like, our parents will say, like, no, you don't want to do that, or you don't want to be that when you grow up. It's so competitive. It's all just talking us out of all of the things that we actually want, that we know are good for our soul. So, you know, we need to listen to ourselves. And as we get older, we need to be consistent about what we put in here so that it then translates into how our body actually feels.
Don't
You know what I
forget
mean?
about awareness.
Oh my God, that's our favorite word ever.
Because you can't do any of that without awareness.
That's true.
It has to be brought to your attention somehow, somewhere, from someone. Otherwise, you could live your whole life never even knowing about this, never knowing. you have
Maybe
control.
even this show.
Maybe.
Well, one of the things that I feel like I want to say is that the reason why this is difficult is because our mind skews negative. And there's a reason for that. I talk about this in one of my workshops. Your mind was here to keep you safe. That's what its function was. You heard a noise as a caveman. Is it a bear? Is it a lion? Is it something coming to eat me or kill me or any of these things? So it was always a protection mechanism to literally keep you alive. That's not the case anymore, right? But it's like the mind still hasn't really caught up with, like, we're safe now. We don't have to worry about bears and tigers and all of that stuff. Our food comes pre-packaged at the grocery store. You know, it's like we're no longer these hunter-gatherers, and we don't have the same kind of threats against us, right? But the mind, when it perceives a threat, it does actually create that, like, fight or flight experience in the body, and the body is constantly trying to compensate for why our mind is, because our mind doesn't actually, our body doesn't know the difference between when your mind is just thinking something or when something is actually happening to us. So when we have these, like, repressed memories or things we haven't really worked through about our conditioning, like what you said, Shira, like the things that people said to us growing up, like either saying, don't do it that way, or that you're not good at that, or whatever, or our perception of what that was, it's like our body is experiencing those thoughts as if they were truth and happening. And like, it's really like, that's what this work is all about, is to separate like these unconscious things that we're carrying around in ourselves, deconditioning from those things, and then allowing for the positive thoughts to actually have the opportunity to stick. You know, the like sense of worthiness of like, yes, I do deserve this, whether it's a healthy relationship or a Mercedes or whatever it may be. I feel like there are like categories in which this is not difficult for me and categories in which this is very, very difficult for me. And that's where I know how I know where my focus needs to go. It's not like everything is a problem. It's like, I'm very aware of certain things in like a relationship category that I feel very positive about, and then other things not as much. So that's when we in any of our episodes talk about that's the work, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Amen.
Wow. And there are so many good books out there. I was just thinking about Eckhart Tolle, who, you know, wrote The Power of Now and A New Earth. And he talks about the pain body. Is it the pain body? I forgot the actual phrase that he
Pain
uses.
body. Yes.
Just remember that. And it's like, it sort of dives into everything we've been talking about, but specifically how, Juji, you were talking about, like, you know, we don't have to hunt and gather anymore, but there's still so much pain in that, you know, that's transferred to us from, you know, from years gone by, generational, you know, trauma and just all of that stuff that as children, we don't know how to process these things. If we only knew how powerful our minds are, our minds are unbelievably powerful. And so like, learn how to harness it. And then, you know, obviously you have to, like, you know, put your own mask on before you teach your kid, you know, for your children. But there's something so beautiful about understanding how it's all interconnected. And people, you know, we always say, oh, I'm so in my own head. I'm so in my own head. Well, what does it even mean? Like, what is your mind actually? When you start to dissect that, it's really rather fascinating. And then I have been a victim of trying to figure out what's going on in other people's minds, which just gives me more pain body. You know, when you're trying to change, when you're trying to get someone else to see the light instead of focusing on your own mind-body connection, it's freaking exhausting. So I've just learned to stay in my lane and really try to understand my own mind before I try to figure anybody else out. It's pointless.
And that's a lifelong thing for all of us. I mean,
totally.
No time to figure out other people's minds.
I spent way too much time doing that. Way too much time.
You know, Lee, you mentioned earlier about how this can cause disease in your body. And it made me think about how the number one cause of disease is stress. It's the number one contributor to disease. And America, I remember reading not long ago that America as a country is like the most stressed out country. And we can all see why, you know, between working a million hours and having a lot of pressure and financial, family, work, all the things, work-life balance. But it's just so clear to me when, like, from the lemon exercise and the whole, you know, just not being aware of how much power you have in your mind, you have to help, you know, your mind help your body, why we're all so stressed out. Because if you look at the one thing that you complain about the most, that's probably a great place to start. What is like the one thing you complain about the most that brings you the most stress? Is it money? Is it your child? Is it your job? Like, what is it that you find yourself consistently complaining about? And just start with that one thing. And if you can easily just, I know it's not easy, but like only focus on not complaining about it. Like finding acceptance. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I would like help. How can I do that? You know, whether it's like you said, reading some books, there are tons of motivational videos online. But if you just take this one topic, this one thing that's like just you have a racket about, and you just slowly start to dissect it. I know it's usually landmark terminology. I know. Because we learned in landmark about.
Okay. I feel like you need to explain the racket though, if you're going to say that, because it really is helpful.
It is. I don't know if I'm going to say it exactly how they said it, but when you have a racket with something, it's basically like you have an issue with it, you have a problem, and it's always there, and it's just growing, and it's something that is just always right. It's usually like it's just always a problem for you. You have a racket about it. Is that how am I saying it correctly?
I mean, yes, but I would also add that if you have a racket about something, it's hiding something else. So like, we like just using the example of like, I'm so stressed out about work, like using that as sort of this facade about what's really going on behind the scenes, like what is actually behind this, like, overwhelm that you're experiencing about work. Is it like, your worthiness is tied up in how much money you make? Is it, like whatever is behind, because that's the racket, right? Like when something is a racket, it's like, okay, here's the facade of the store, and then this is like the money laundering that's going on behind the scenes.
That's such a good example. I love
And
that.
and where I learned the work, they used to call it when you're in your shit. You're basically in your shit. It's the continual story that we keep telling ourselves that is most likely not true. It's that story that, again, without the awareness, we don't even know we're telling it to ourselves. We don't even realize that we are speaking words where we are not worthy, where we're speaking words where we will never succeed. Like we are in our shit. And that is very similar, I think, to the racket, right?
Yeah. And Lee, to your point earlier, how is your shit and all those things in there affecting your physical body?
Exactly.
What's manifesting from that? For me,
Exactly.
it's a skin issue. There's hundreds of millions of ailments and issues and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And
And
to just see that connection is just really powerful.
oh, big time. For me, I discovered it years after I was diagnosed with my breast cancer, like, 3 freaking times. And it took a lot of dissecting and exploring and discovering and, and going back and a lot of this work to realize it was definitely the way that I think I suppressed a lot of feelings. I think I was in my shit a lot. I think I was a lot more of a victim. I mean, there was a lot to uncover for me. And I'm like, actually, in a way, and I don't talk about my breast cancer these days. I really don't. I don't identify with it. Like it's not me. I almost think seriously, I feel truly like it was another lifetime ago. Not to say that I'm not without any issues or problems, but that part of me, like, I feel like I kind of figured out, like, yeah, I believe that all the shit that was in my head caused it. I really, truly do. I really, truly do. And let's not forget though, the physical body also, right? So physically, we can get all these diseases from stress and trauma and whatever. But if we also take care of our bodies physically, they can make our head and our thoughts and our mind feel better. And that is
such a good point.
Best place to be in, right? In whichever way we could do it. There are so many different ways, but if how good you feel after you do a workout. I don't care what kind of a workout it is. You're done, you feel good. I don't care what kind of a day you had. If you ate well and clean for you and you stayed away from some of the crap, you feel better about yourself. So these are other things like to keep in mind, where the mind-body connection, it goes both ways.
Well, I think that meditation is to the mind what physical exercise is to the body, because when you think
Agreed.
about it, if you're only doing one and not the other, because meditating is really hard. Like when you first start working out, you're like, oh, my muscles are sore. Well, I can't do this. Some people give up. I don't know. But when you first start meditating, you're like, I can't quiet this. Like, are you kidding me? But if you keep doing it, and then you really start to understand the connection between mind and body, because like in the workshops that I've done, I tell the audience, where do you store your stress? It could be hyperventilating through, some people have breathing issues when they're stressed out. Some people get headaches and muscle tension. A lot of women get stomach problems. Like, know where you're storing your stress. Like, that's the first step in the awareness. And then you can start to go, well, what is that all about? Like, instead of complaining about it, going, yeah, I always get stomach aches. I get headaches all the time. Okay, well, what's that doing for you? It's just perpetuating the stuff.
Right.
Sure.
Get down to the root cause, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, with the meditation is a huge way to do it. And there are many different methods of meditating. It doesn't necessarily
Totally.
mean, you're sitting there with your legs crossed and you're breathing and you're chanting. So there are so many different ways, but I also want to just, and I think Juju, you touched on this about like reconditioning ourselves or deconditioning ourselves from our past negative thoughts is another huge one, because whether we use meditation, right, or silencing ourselves or breathing or whatever, we can start to, and this is what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls rewiring our brain. The neurotransmitters in our brain literally start to change physiologically. And this is what slowly can get us to a better mental state.
I feel better already.
I love that. What are the possibilities? It gets me
Endless.
excited to think about that. Like, holy cow, that's so big.
Yeah.
And then it's up to us, that we take responsibility for all of the things that are going on, mental, physical, all of it. It's like, no, I want to change this. This is not working for me. This is not serving me anymore. I must do things differently.
And how
Exactly.
often in our life do we're so busy like giving our power away most of the time, but we are so powerful. So this is a way to take back our power and make it work for us.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I love that. I love that,
Can I
Kim.
get an amen?
And I think that's a great place to wrap up, because I think it is so powerful that we have the power of choice. And this is a choice we make. Do you want to make a change or do you not want to make a change? And if you do, to what level? How far can you go? And that's the exciting part. Like, how amazing can life be? Let's find out, ladies. Anyway,
I love it.
I'd like to find out. I think this is a great place to wrap. If you've enjoyed our conversation and you would like to subscribe to our channel, be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. We'll see you soon, and thank you for watching.